Neither am I. And for you to try to come up with the proper percentages of fat and what they call milk solids and proper sugars and everything else, you just don't have the knowledge. And one of my friends and competitors over at Stolting, Steve Christensen, wrote into the blog. Let me plug the blog. Ice cream folks at yahoogroups.com. He wrote in there and said, I was in Australia, where he's from, and he said the only way we were going to get a custard mix was to make it ourselves. And he talked about how they had to go through 50 different tries in 50 different days to come up with something that was even halfway edible. So I really am a strong proponent of letting the professionals do it. Ken, you had a question?
Could you announce again what we're making? I just now started the recording.
We are making banana Oreo cookie ice cream. And I've put in the 5 quarts of mix. I forgot I need vanilla, so I had to go hunting over here for vanilla. Here it is. I like this Lockheed vanilla. George Lockheed is the president, and a terrific guy, and they really make a great product. This is what they specialize in. Excuse me? Oh yes, this is a natural vanilla. This is a 2-fold vanilla extract. And that means it's double strength. And I love using vanilla. So I'm going to pour that in. I use vanilla in almost all my ice cream flavors. And we'll turn it on and start freezing it. Now I'm going to demonstrate 2 terms, fruit flavor and fruit identity. And I'm going to take back the speed a little bit, about 170, and turn on the refrigeration, set a timer. There. Now, I'm going to start putting bananas in. I did this once at a Malcolm Stogo seminar, and it was up in Tarrytown, New York. I was down in the Bronx, and I was running late. And so I had forgotten my bananas, and so I stopped at what we call in the Bronx a bodega. Not a brothel, a bodega. It's like a Spanish deli. And I stopped in, saw the bananas, grabbed them, paid for them, and ran out the door. I get up there, and I start to make this ice cream, and there is a person in the front row, and he says, "You're making a terrible mistake." I said, "No, I'm not. This isn't brain surgery. It's real easy." He said, "Well, I hate to tell you, but I am a brain surgeon, and what you're using is Pantenes, not bananas. They look like bananas." He said, "If you don't cook them first, we're all going to die." And I said, "Oh, great. Let's just switch and make chocolate chip ice cream instead." So strange things happen when you're doing it live. But this is, you can see why I like this flavor, because it really just drives the competition insane, because they can't do this. They can't take whole bananas and just put them in there like that. Now, the riper you get them, the better they are for ice cream, because when a banana is brown, these are spotted, as you can see. They're not quite as attractive looking in the supermarket, but the sugar content of these is way up, as opposed to just ripe looking bananas. And when these turn black, they are really, really ripe and make a great banana ice cream. I thought I was being really smart, and I said to a group like this, I said, "Go to the green grocer at the supermarket and tell him that since he can't sell those bananas, you'll buy them from him for half price." I thought that was pretty smart. Well, one of the people on icecreamfolks.com writes back and says, "Steve, you're a rookie. I went into the supermarket and said, not only can't you sell those things, but you're going to throw them out and they're going to take up room in your dumpster. I'll only charge you $1 for every 10 pounds to take them away. I don't know if he got the deal, but that's what I call deal making. Now I'm going to put half my Oreo cookies in too. Everything I put into the machine is giving me, I came up with two terms. One I call fruit flavor and fruit identity. So imagine this is a fruit. Of course it's cookies, but let's call it a fruit. And as I put these into the machine, they're going to get ground up and they're going to get evenly dispersed throughout the batch. So if I was blindfolded right now and asked to taste the ice cream, I would taste it. I'd say, yeah, that's banana Oreo cookie ice cream. I can taste the flavor. I take the blindfold off and I don't see anything. I just see a dark colored ice cream and maybe some pieces, small pieces of banana. So it has the flavor, but it doesn't have the identity. So what I'm going to do with the second group of cookies is I'm going to break them in thirds, just like this. I'm going to take each cookie and just snap it in my fingers into 4 pieces. And I'm going to do that, and then as the ice cream's coming out, I'm going to just shake them into the ice cream. This is going to give me my identity. So when it's in the dipping case, you can see the cookies. Now, other people's machines and commercial ice cream, the best they can do is add the cookies as it's coming out. So they don't have the cookie flavor, they only have the cookie identity. So that's why homemade ice cream on an Emery Thompson actually does have a better flavor, because we're getting, for every particle of the vanilla mix, there is a particle of cookie right next to it. There's also a particle of banana right next to it. So you'll see the flavor is quite intense. And you can do this with any combination of flavors. I'm surprised no one has called up and said, how do you do a butterscotch swirl? Or that a butterscotch swirl, you know, the swirl through the ice cream, is called a variegated ice cream. And the way you do a variegate, the commercial people do variegate the best because they have a $40,000 machine attached to their $200,000 continuous freezer, and it's injecting butterscotch perfectly into the ice cream. We can't be that perfect, but homemade ice cream, there's 2 ways to do it. One, on the bigger machines, there's a notch right here. And you can take a pastry bag and fill it with butterscotch, put it against there, open the gate halfway instead of all the way, and squeeze in the butterscotch. The way I like to do it is, excuse me, I've got my tub of butterscotch, and if I dip my spatula into the tub of butterscotch, I'm going to contaminate the whole can for future use. So I pour out into another container how much butterscotch I think I'm going to use. I keep this in the ready because when I'm learning how to do this, I'm going to use more than I should. I can always come back and get more. But I've got my butterscotch in a container. I'm dipping my spatula into it. I take out, boom, a gallon of ice cream. Open, close. There's a gallon. Dip in the butterscotch. 1, 2, another gallon. Close. 1, 2, and I'm mixing my butterscotch variegate that way. It doesn't come out quite as pretty, but the taste is there and the concept is there. It works well enough. And that's how all homemade products like that are made. But you'll be, and the other thing about ice cream coming out of a batch freezer, the ices, the nice thing about ice is you can taste it on the way in. I knew that blue ice was not going to be great when I tasted it. And then when it came out of the machine, it confirmed my suspicions. But it was exactly the way it's going to be after it's been sitting in the dipping case for a few hours or a couple of days. Ice cream, the flavor blooms. It's like making a good pasta sauce. You make it today and it's delicious. It's a whole lot better 24 hours later. And the ice cream flavor, the vanillas, anything else you put in, blooms over an 8-hour period of time. So also, when you pull it out of the machine, it's coming out fairly warm, about 19, 20 degrees, so we can get it out of the machine. And again, we're serving it at about 6. So when it comes out of the machine, it's going to taste a little bit warm, like there may not be quite enough flavor, though this one's going to be an intense flavor. Quite enough, not enough flavor. You really can't judge ice cream until tomorrow, after you've put it through the freezing cycle. So don't, on your initial making ice cream, don't add an ounce of vanilla, taste it and say, oh, this is terrible, we need 10 ounces, because you'll be quite overwhelmed. But I am a firm believer in, if I give you a pale pink ice cream and you taste it and you say, oh, that's delicious, what is it? I've just failed because you couldn't tell that it was red raspberry as opposed to strawberry. So make sure you flavor enough so that people know what it is. The higher the fat content, the more flavor you need. So a 10% mix uses less flavor than a 16%. And so my friend Rod Oranger at Oranger Flavors, let me show you one of their cans, give them equal time. Is that me? That might, that's almost there. When Rod Oranger formulated this product, this butter pecan base, it will say how much to use. Use 1 quart to 5 gallons. That's what it says on the can. And that's okay if you're running, say, a 10 or a 12% mix. I use 2 quarts to 5 gallons because I'm running, say, a 16% butter fat. So you ask Ron, you know this is low on your recipe. Why aren't you raising it up to reflect what you'd really like it to be? Why? Because if I do, Pearl Giordano over at Limpert is going to say, see, use my product, it's more intense. It's got more of a butter pecan flavor, which is not true. They're both equally good. So they won't change their labels, so all you need to know is as the fat level goes up, you need more flavor to cut through the fat. And when either one of those, let's say you've been using this one for the last 5 years and it's fabulous. Everybody raves about your walnut ice cream that we're going to make soon. And the Oranger salesperson comes in. Well, like I said this morning, give it a try. It might be that something you like better, but you won't know unless you try it. So keep an open mind about the products that you're making and selling. Now, I want this to open and close like a knife went through it. Right now, see how it's dripping down? It's not ready. You can have all the timers in the world. The timer is an approximation. What do you do when you're baking a cake? You set it at 350 for 25 minutes, and then you check it with a straw or a fork. You know, the joy of cooking has been teaching people how to make cakes forever. You'd think they'd know, you know, is it ready at 25 minutes or is it ready at 30 minutes? Tell me. Well, we can't. There's too many variables. You know, how cold was the mix? What time of year is it? You know, cows don't produce as much cream or as concentrated cream in the winter as they do in the spring. So it's not rocket science, and it's not brain surgery. Anybody here a brain surgeon? I'm not going to make that mistake again. It's not difficult, but there is a little bit of finesse to it that you'll learn. In fact, I tell people when I teach them how to make ice cream, I've got the employee and the owner and me. I turn to the employee, I say, employee, this is an Emery Thompson batch freezer. We're going to show you how to run it. If you break it because you were talking to your girlfriend on the phone, or you were doubling as an air traffic controller and fell asleep, and you break the machine, we are not going to fire you. We want you to tell the boss you broke the machine so he can call Emery Thompson and get it checked out. That's what we tell you. However, here's a 3x5 file card with the boss's recipe on how to make Absolutely Nuts ice cream. It's the way he likes his Absolutely Nuts ice cream. Do not deviate from this formula. It's what he's been doing for the last 10 years. If you deviate from this formula, we're going to break your kneecaps, we're going to take you outside, and we're going to shoot you, and then we're going to fire you. Because as everybody knows, McDonald's is a miserable hamburger. But it's the same miserable hamburger in Brooksville, Florida, as it is in San Diego, California. When you walk into McDonald's, you know what you're getting. If I only go up to Four Seas ice cream every other year, I know exactly what I'm getting with his mint chip ice cream. And there's no changing it. We don't want anybody to change it unless the owner does. So consistency is very important. Now see how that's cutting off better? I'm going to let that go a little bit longer. The bananas, by the way, added a tremendous amount of sugar to this formula. So if anybody at home is there with a stopwatch and saying, oh, Steve said it makes ice cream in 8 minutes and we're up to 11, well, don't forget I put in those super sweet bananas. That makes a big, big difference. But that's why there's, again, no timer on the machine. When I did this demonstration with Taylor and Capajani and Solting and Electro-Freeze, and they all had timers, at 8 minutes, boom, like clockwork, all their timers went off. And then the salesman casually goes by, looks in the machine, turns on the timer again. I go, hey guys, it ain't ready yet. The Emery Thompson will tell you when it's ready. And it's just a matter of looking in there, and the old timers, geez, the old timers can tell just by the sound of the machine. It stopped making that slapping noise, and they know it's almost ready. The real old timers, which most of them are deaf, because we had a motorcycle chain running it. My wife said, how come some people call up and they say, I wanted parts for an Emery Thompson? I say because they're running the old 60-year-old 40 HF motorcycle chain. It was so loud, they all lost their hearing. So, as you can tell, this is nice and quiet. And we're almost there. That is looking good. I'll give it just a little bit more. I'm running at a lower air content, and then we'll all try this. Get some more of those. Right about now you're saying, oh no, he's making another batch of ice cream. I'm getting full. And you thought it was going to be great fun. I did teach one person how to make ice cream one day, and we made about 20 batches, and with every batch, she went over to the ice cream and took a spoonful. And I said, I'm only looking out for your best future. I don't want to see you on the Biggest Loser TV show. Do you realize you ate 20 ounces of ice cream today? I didn't eat 20 ounces of ice cream today. You took a spoonful out of every batch you made. Each spoonful was an ounce. That's 20 ounces of ice cream you ate today. So be careful. I have a friend who worked for many years. He just retired working for NBC Sports, Jimmy Johnson. And he did all their golf and is the best in golf that there is. And what made him the best, he said, was he surrounded himself with assistants who hated golf. Because since they hated golf so much, they would concentrate on their job of getting the right shot with the ball hitting instead of getting excited over who hit the ball and how far it was going. You have to do the same thing with ice cream. You can love your product, but don't love it too much, because it is not dietetic. Okay, that cuts off nice and clean. Everybody see that? I'm going to turn off the refrigeration, and now I'm going to start adding my cookies. I've already got some in here, so I'm going to throw in a few, and then I'm going to. Now, one way is to just let it come out slowly, maybe a little faster, and this way works well. Oh, and by the way, I've calculated the recipe so the ice cream maker can eat 2 cookies. So if you're short 2, it won't ruin the recipe. So now I've got my fruit flavor and my fruit identity. You can also take your spatula and just, help a little bit there. Except the machine does come with a guard. It doesn't slow down the discharge of the ice cream. It doesn't interfere at all, but you can't put your spatula like that. Now, here's a little trick. One nice thing to do is to, at the end of it, if you had a whole cookie left over, just put it on top. It looks nice when you bring it out. But the other thing is, what's in the bottom of the container? Cookie dust. And if you take the tendency is just to throw it in It's cookies. But then you end up with an ice cream that looks dirty because there's cookie dust all over the top. So don't throw the last bit of cookie dust in. It's not going to help. And that's our Oreo banana. Let me just rinse off my hands, and then we'll serve that up. I think you'll like this. Ken, we got a completely stopped up sink over here. It's the blue ice. It's expanding. You know, like that stuff you put around your door sills and all, to, you know, and you just put a nice little bead and it looks great, and you come back a half hour later, out like that. It's expanding. And that's called Roto-Rooter. Come on up. We'll let you try this. I gotta rinse this off. Not my fault. Not my fault. Okay. There you go.
I have one question. How many ounces is this?
Oh, who knows?
Right?
Who knows? It's like a food line for ice cream junkies. There you go. We're controlling the world. You just eat ice cream. Welcome. Oh, that wasn't enough.
You heard about Brooklyn Ice Cream Factory?
Yeah, I put them in business. Oh, they're right there.
Nice location.
Yeah.
I'll take hers too.
Okay, good.
One at Pepsi.
Aha,
Yes.
you heard.
I was watching you on
Oh, okay.
video. Oreo cookies in there?
Well, how is it?
I'm able to identify with it.
Good?
Almost tastes like a pie. Banana Oreo pie. It's good.
Aren't those, the bananas are great.
Yeah,
And-
that's probably the best.
I had leftover bananas, so I made banana coffee ice cream. What a disaster. It was awful. The two flavors were fighting each other for control, and neither one could win. It was just, it was a bomb. I couldn't give it away. Speaking of giving away ice cream, make sure you take some to your banker on a weekly basis. Donald Trump always says, be nice to your banker because nobody else is. And when you need them, you want them on your side. So, you know, be kind to your banker. Also, it's great. I don't have one eye that works. So I go to the specialist in New York City at Columbia Presbyterian. And he's one of these people who makes all his appointments for 3 p.m. Everybody, 16 of us, 3 o'clock. And you're going to sit there, and they tell you, bring Gone with the Wind. You're going to be there forever. Or War and Peace. And so I heard about this. So what I did is I brought some of this ice cream, cups and spoons, and just delivered it when I walked in. Gee, I got to the front of the line right away. It was great. That worked about 3 times, and then one day I get there, bring ice cream, and I sit for 3.5 hours. And I said, hey, Doc, what's the story? I brought you ice cream. He said, the lady before you brought fresh brownies. He needed a break between his treats. Let's see, what's next? Absolutely nuts. Well, I'm going to have to rinse the machine out. And there are no peanuts in the Absolutely Nuts.
We do about the same.
Leave it.
Plugged up down in the scramble, you think?
Yeah, it's got pineapple plugged up in it. It's quite something, huh? Ken, we're not getting a lot of questions from the internet. Come on, people, ask questions. It's free. Oh. I'm not sure what that means. Is that an insult? Yes.
Do you have any idea of what kind of requirements the health department would have in making your own versus just what the normal requirements are in your place?
Oh, okay, good question. What requirements are there to make your own ice cream and gelato and ices as opposed to just buying it? Excuse me. The health department wants you to get a health license, and that consists of having an ice cream room like this with a acceptable floor and acceptable walls. Now, it changes from place to place. These walls are pretty rough in my opinion, but this state here says it's perfectly fine. You need a 3-compartment sink. So that's the key thing. Well, for other people out there, you need to wash, rinse, and sanitize. And the size of the sink you buy is dependent on the biggest part that needs to go into water, which would be the beater or dasher. And so here's a small dasher. If this was all you were using, you would need to be able to submerge this. Now you submerge it either vertically, which on a larger machine is going to get pretty deep, or horizontally, which is going to get pretty wide if you've got 3 compartments, or the way you do it is on a diagonal, north corner to south corner. And so on our bigger machine, bigger than this, you would need a 19-inch diagonal, which is not too hard to get. And so it would be wash, rinse, sanitize. And that's what the health department wants. Excuse me. Allergies. Let me wash my hands. And the health department will come in unannounced about once a month or so, and they'll take samples of your product and they'll look around the room. And it's to your advantage because you want to run a clean operation. So if you're following their rules, you're making great ice cream, and it's really quite simple. So we're going to need more mix again. So let me get that out. Yes. Mm-hmm. Again, the waters have receded in the sink about 1/4 of an inch, so I think maybe by tomorrow we'll be in good shape. Okay, here we go. 5 quarts of mix. Close the gate. And 1 ounce of vanilla. I'm going to use 2 ounces. Now 16 ounces, 12 ounces of the butter pecan base. And this is the one I cleaned off. A lot of your flavors come in this size container, which I'll show you again in a second. In the industry, it's called a number 10 tin. And a number 10 tin is 3 quarts. And once you open this, then you put another lid on it and just refrigerate it. Okay. And I need something to measure out. 12 ounces. This is a number 10 tin. Wait a minute, I'm doing that wrong. I was doing that by weight, and it's not by weight, it's by ounces. Yeah, well, it worked out to be almost the same. Okay.
I have a question from a customer that just called in.
Yes.
They want to know what items in a shop have to be approved by the health department, such as blenders, juicers, refrigerators, freezers.
What items have to be approved by a health department? Everything in the store. And most times it has to be commercial. I'll tell you a real nightmare of a story. Let me get this running first and then I'll tell you the story. I've got my flavor in there. Here's the nuts. Let's start this up. Started spinning. I put the vanilla in. I'm going to take the speed down again. And turn on the refrigeration. And in go the nuts. Again, you can't do this in any other machine. They won't go into the machine, number one. They get hung up in the inlet because it's so small. And number two, it'll damage the dasher. But not in an Emery Thompson. Everything in the store has to be approved by the health department. There was a business in Wisconsin. He's a franchise. He's a really nice guy. And he was building another one of his stores. They cost about $1 million. And a couple of nights before it was supposed to open, an employee who didn't get hired set fire to the place, torched it, and pretty much gutted the store. Well, it shouldn't have been a, it was an inconvenience, but it was insured until the until the insurance company came along and looked at the burned out equipment and saw a Sears chest freezer, or maybe it was a, some other brand, but it was a home freezer, like I have over in the corner. I've got a big white Sears chest freezer. I love it. It's indestructible. It's not commercial. The insurance company tried to deny his claim on this $1 million business, even though they caught the kid who set the fire. They had the gasoline. He practically was standing there, with the match. They said, well, we're not going to pay the claim because you had a piece of non-commercial equipment in your store. Boy, did that scare everybody to death. I've never heard of anything like that again, but it makes me pause that if I was opening up a retail operation or a wholesale, I would ask, can I run non-commercial equipment in here? That's non-commercial, it's okay. But it's just one of those things you don't think of when you're so busy setting up everything else about the business. You can never ask too many questions. He got the claim paid because he was a big company, but the rest of us would have, just lost sleep there, would have gone the whole shooting match. So this flavor, everything's in here. This is another one that I haven't made before, so we'll see how it comes out. But I'm doing pretty well today, except for the blue ice. And we're right on time, because the last one, I told you I was going to leave you happy. We're going to make the Bordeaux wine sorbet. Yes? Rules about making organic? Oh. Organic is a very growing market. I'm 60 years old, and Paula is trying to make me even healthier to the point where now I put organic lettuce on my Big Mac. I mean, that's a big breakthrough. Organic's a big market. But my friend Vito Panza, who runs Panza and Sons, I hate to give him credit because we're always battling with each other, but he was right. He said, Steve, organic is fine, it's great until you're in a recession. And out of a recession, if a head of lettuce is 99 cents and an organic head is $1.29, organic's going to sell like wildfire. If you're in a recession, or if the price goes to where it's 99 cents for a regular head of lettuce and $2.49 for an organic head, you'll never sell the organic head because it's too expensive. If everybody else's product is around $3 and yours is $5.50, you can tell yourself all day long that you are the world's best ice cream, or you're the world's best anything, but if they're not buying it, you won't be around very long to tell people that. I had a guy years ago who was making, without a doubt, the world's best sorbet in Lower Manhattan, and he took it to United Airlines, back when they had real first class and they fed you and stuff like that. And United Airlines said, this is without a doubt the finest sorbet we've ever had, but it's $60 a tub, we can't afford it. And so he had the greatest stuff in the world, but he couldn't afford it. So you really have to look at price benefit. And that turns off a lot of people, when I say that. Because, we do tend to get these altruistic ideas that we are, going to be the next, McDonald's or whatever, something higher brow. And you really have to be practical and say, where's my market? Who am I selling this to? A good example, the island of Bermuda. People who go to Bermuda are on a honeymoon or incredibly wealthy. It's just got that reputation. So a friend of mine's got 2 ice cream parlors there and does a terrific business selling to the tourists. He can sell a $5 scoop of ice cream. You're on vacation, nobody blinks. After all, your room's costing $300 a night. Why would you blink over a $5 ice cream cone? But he said, my problem is I feel bad that the rest of Bermuda, the people who don't have giant houses or aren't on vacation, the people who are working the service industry, the maitre d', the people, all throughout the service industry of Bermuda, they can't afford to come into my store. What do? I said, let's sell Italian Ice, because now we've got a product that you can afford. If you've got a family of 4 and it's going to cost you $5, well, that's what did in Cold Stone Creamery. Cold Stone Creamery is just falling itself apart because they have these signboards up. Forget the singing. I hate the singing. I'll pay you not to sing. But they've got these signboards that says we're going to make you the Whoopie Doopie and the Super Blockbuster. And this one's $7.95 and this one's $5.95. Well, one guy on the assembly line told me, he said, listen, if I'm making $18 an hour and I walk in there and with 3 kids and my wife and myself, I walk out with a $37 bill for ice cream, you can be sure I'm never going back there again. It might be nice, it might be fun, but if you overprice yourself, you'll never sell anything. I mean, I've thought maybe for our 150th anniversary, I would make a gold-plated version of this. It would only cost you, $89,000. It would be really cool, but who's going to buy it? No one. So that's an important part, and we were talking organic, but the ingredients are hard to get. There's not a lot of places. Now, there is a place, if you're in California, there's a great dairy in San Francisco. He's got so much business, it's unbelievable. He's making an all organic product, and that's terrific. He's selling up and down the California coast. There's no one like that of any size on the East Coast, and there's certainly no one in Middle America. What I try to go for is as close to all natural as I can. I mean, I don't need a mix with polysorbate 80 in it. The stuff will make you glow in the dark. And there's no reason for it. There are other good stabilizers that a dairy could be using. And enough people tell these dairies, gee, I'd love to buy from you, your prices are great, but I don't like your stabilizer. They'll change their ways. All of us manufacturers do. We either change our ways to give the customer exactly what they want, or we go out of business. I mean, it's just that simple. So I don't know that you can do organic. You can certainly try, and it's worth trying. There are people who are very successful doing it. I mean, I've got a better shot at being all organic in Chelsea Market, New York City, than I do in Brooksville, Florida. They're just not going to pay for it here. They don't have the money to pay for it here. So I don't want to discourage you. It just depends on where your market is and who you're selling to. So try for organic. Let me see what else we got. The Italian Ice. When we were making that pineapple Italian Ice, you put it into something like that in a restaurant, and now they're getting $6 for the same product that you were getting $1.50 for. Exactly the same, just different presentations. Let's see if I'm missing anything. We've been hitting everything pretty well. Oh, gelato cases and dipping cabinets in general. The Italians make absolutely beautiful. If you're going into gelato, the Italians make beautiful gelato cases. The only problem is they don't hold up. They don't work well. There's one company, Oscar Tielli, out of Italy, who makes a very good gelato case. I've taken them apart, and they're excellent, but they're very expensive. They start at $12,000 and go up from there, and you can go up into $30,000 or $40,000 quite easily. The American cases just aren't nearly as pretty, so it's a bit of a stalemate. If I was doing a gelateria, now I know the people in the front row here have a gelateria, and they're doing very well at it. What I recommend for a gelateria is I want to be a full-service frozen dessert business. I do want my gelato, and if I'm going to be a gelateria, I can specialize in gelato, but I also want the mousse tracks, and I want the mint chip, and some of the American flavors. And I also want the Italian Ice, though I can call it sorbetto, and do just fine. But the idea is, It's like my business here. I specialize, like I said this morning, I specialize in batch freezers. I don't make a whole lot of other stuff. So you come to me as an expert in just one particular piece of equipment. But in your dessert business, you know, you're not going to sell, you know, you shouldn't be selling fried chicken with ice cream, because ice cream is a protein that absorbs flavors, and it'll suck the flavor of any fried food. If you're doing fried fish, your ice cream's going to taste like fish in about 3 days. So you got to be careful of that. Let me finish cleaning up this one, because we're going to switch over there to make the sorbet. If anyone's interested, this countertop is $8,950, and if you're outside the state of Florida, we don't collect sales tax. So at $89.50, you can get into the Italian ice business, or ice cream, or gelato. The electrical on the countertop is 220 volt single phase. It's what they call a 20 amp dedicated line. For those of us non-electricians, a dedicated line just means that the line is here for the machine. I'm not also plugging in my central air conditioner to it, and I'm not plugging my clothes dryer into it. It's a dedicated line, means just for the machine. So it's pretty straightforward. Same as a clothes dryer, yes. Whoops, I better watch my product, huh? Not there. Let's see. Let's do this. This one, 19,900. Now, that's almost ready. A little bit soft. We'll let it go another minute or two. Whatever pan this is what it fills up. Yeah, so it's a little over. The 6 quart makes a little over this. It makes about 5.5 liters, I think it comes out to. Those of you who can't see me off camera, I'm opening up a bottle of Bordeaux. You know, you work all day. Gotta have a little treat. Ah, there we go. Just kidding. I'm sorry? What type of packaging option would you have for Italian ice? Let me look around. Well, certainly the 2.5 gallon tubs, but if you're wholesaling, you can't expect the restaurant to give these back to you. So you can use there's a cardboard tub I showed you this morning, the block of Italian ice. That's made by Rynone, R-Y-N-O-N-E Packaging. President is Bob Rynone, and they're in Waverly, W-A-V-E-R-L-E-Y, New York. That's on my website under packaging, under key suppliers. And what you do is, it's great because you can get 200 of them delivered flat, you know, not taking up a lot of space, and it's fold A, B, C, D, even I can do it. And then you put a plastic bag in it that you can buy from them For ice cream, you don't need the plastic bag. For ices, you need to line it, and you just take it here, dump it, twist tie it off, and put the lid on it, and you're done. And then when you wholesale that out, you don't have to worry about it coming back to you. Okay, see how this is cutting off? Cutting off nice and clean. We're going to turn off the refrigeration, open it up. I'm going to up the speed. Look how fast that comes out. Now remember, the competition says this is horrible because you don't have time to decorate it. Well, I want to get back to that golf course. So I want to get my job done and out of here. So the faster this is discharging, the better I like it. Now normally I'd be making not just one tub of this, but maybe 3, 4, 5 batches, because I'm making an inventory. So if I'm leaving about a pint of this in the machine, covering the door and some other parts, if I make a second batch or a 5th batch, it's not going to coat anymore. So I wouldn't be losing any more product. Now, if you'd like to try this. Yes, I know, it's terrible. You didn't know you were signing on for such a horrible job. Gee, I have to eat ice cream all day. I mean, this is awful. Don't you have anything easier, like cleaning the side of a skyscraper?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Looking at the agenda, I see that you've made certain key ice creams and Italian ices in different batch freezers. Does it matter? Can you make like the Oreo and the
Oh, okay, good question. I've made different batches in different machines. No, all the machines with the infinite overrun control make all the different products. I'm just trying to alternate between what machine's clean and what's not, and to showcase, different size machines. All right, come on, stand up. I know it's terrible. Now, I haven't tried this one, so.
not as much.
All right.
Okay, there you go. I'm waiting for the wine.
Okay.
Countertop, how long does it take to make a 2.5 gallon ice?
You would have to make 2 batches.
2 batches.
Yeah.
Can you put one on top of the other? Or
Yes, you can. Can you put one tub on top, or one batch on top of another? Absolutely.
the Italian ice, what about the ice cream?
All of them, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you're only talking 10 minutes.
So you would stick it in, like the ice cream, you'd stick it in the blast freezer and then take it back out?
Yes. Yeah, you'd put it in the blast freezer and take it back out again. If you're doing something like a spumoni, that's what you do too.